Hi guys, welcome back, and today some more creating custom user forms, a little review and extension, a little bit of something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Well, wait, that's more of a wedding thing, but you get the idea. We're going to recap what we did last lecture and show you a couple of new tricks. So in the resources for today's lecture, when you uncompress the file, you'll create a folder, something similar to this, and then inside of this is the user form and the spreadsheet together, right? So it's just more than one thing now. Actually, it's three things. This thing is the actual spreadsheet. This is the form that you create. And this other weird thing is created automatically by Visual Basic. This is called a stash file, and it's used to store icons and graphics that you may use on your form. It's automatically created. Don't touch it. Matter of fact, don't double click on either one of these two when you want to start up your spreadsheet. Always just start up this, and they come along for the ride. All right, so let's double click on Dialog Intro. We'll take a look at another application quite similar to the one we did last lecture, but it'll serve as a nice review, and I've got a few extra tricks in here that you've never seen before. All right, here's a quick little run with it. When you press the Enter key, it's a user form quite similar to the one we did last class, but it has a few more entries. It has a longer list in the combo box, so I'll show you how to do that. It's got a list box, haven't used that before, and a more complicated radio button setup. And we're going to press OK, and we'll check the values, and those are all the numbers we typed in and words. Okay, let's go back and refresh our memory on how you create the user form and a couple of new features that are implemented in this example. All right, let's do our due diligence and go through every detail of the program. A little bit quicker than last time, but when it's the new stuff, I'll slow down. So I create a little scratch pad here where I'm going to feed in the information into here. Okay, so those are the spots I'm going to put the results. Let's go back to the main and go into developer now and design mode. And let's click on view data again just to review how to do that. Pretty straightforward. You just point to that workbook and activate it. The entry one, I'll come back out for a second. When I double click on this one, basically I've got something called form, FRM data entry. So I changed the name slightly, .show, and that's going to make that appear. Okay, let's go into the pure code now. All right, and first thing I'm going to do is click on this one, this workbook. So when you open the spreadsheet for the very first time, I'm going to make sure you automatically go to the main page. Now let's show you the form. All right, so it's got a few more controls on it. Most of them you're familiar with. Actually, all of them you're familiar with. It's just how do you implement them in this particular setup. Now I want to focus in on the combo box and the list box. How do we fill those in? Well, to remember how to do those, what I want to do as soon as this form appears in the initialize event, I want to do it there, sort of behind your back. You don't really see me doing it. So I'm just going to double click on the screen for a sec. And oh, there it is right there, the form user initialize. And I'm going to try to squeeze this in a bit so we get it all better on your screen so you can see it better. Okay, we've shrunk it down as good as I can get it. So this is by hand. I typed in every one of those. So that's how you edit January to December. But here's the really cool thing. The dates, the actual 1 to 31, I didn't type those in by hand. I could have done something like this: list date dot add item, and hand typed 1 to 31. But there's another kind of loop. Remember how we did loop stuff before, the do loop and the do loop until? Well, there's another kind of loop that doesn't use the word loop. It uses the word for, and what it does is say start with some variable I and have it start at 1 and go to 31. By ones, okay? So it's implied that you're going to go up by ones. And what this does is then add item I. So when I is 1 in the loop, it'll add 1 to the list box. Then when it hits the word next I, if I was 1, after 1 comes 2. So then I will be 2, and it'll come back down here, and it'll make it 3 and 4, all the way to 31. This is called a for loop. Really powerful. With this one little 3-line command, you can make the numbers go from 1 to 1,000,000, whatever you want. You can have them go backwards, forwards, whatever. For our purposes, we just wanted it to loop from 1 to 31, a very fast, efficient way to fill up the list box. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. Again, remember, when you use radio buttons, you should trap them in a a frame, okay? And again, the logic for that is if, for instance, you had two other radio buttons over here that were not related to this, if you didn't have them in frames, it would think they were all one big gigantic list of radio buttons. So the frames traps it and says, these are my guys. And then another frame on this side says, these are my guys. And they don't sort of interact with each other. Let's look at the OK button to make sure we figure out how to do that. And it's a bit of a review, obviously. So we declare two sheets. There's going to be a main sheet and a data sheet, just like we did last time. Slide this over a bit, and we make them point to the particular sheets. Now, I didn't name my cells this time. I just remembered where I put them, B4, 5, 6, and 7. So when the person typed in their name, that's in the text box. When they typed in their age, that was in a text box. The combo box pulled out the actual months, and the list box pulled out the dates. The only thing that involves thinking, and by thinking I mean selections, which means you have to use if statements, is the radio buttons, because only one of them can be picked. So you have basically a list of if-else ifs, and look how it starts up. You always start off the first one with the word if. All the other possibilities are else ifs, and then this very last one is else, okay? So basically we're saying, listen, is the Monday true? If it is, then put the word Monday into location B8 on the data sheet. And then we go through all the other ones, Tuesday all the way to Saturday. If it's none of those, then it has to be Sunday. All right. And with the radio buttons, only one of these is going to get executed. Then we hide the form and go back to the main sheet. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the code, the basic user form. Remember these guys? These are the different controls, and you can experiment. There's other controls you can use in here. There's a picture box. You can put a little image if you wanted to, and all kinds of other neat things that we will introduce in a couple of other examples in the last part of the course. Let's go back for a second to here. So two not so practical examples, but with this knowledge now, we're going to be able to even backtrack to some old examples we've done and make them even more professional looking by incorporating these user forms. And that's what we're going to do in the next lecture. Thanks for listening. Take care. We'll see you in a little bit.